would like to begin this talk today by sharing a few thank yous. Now, the first thank you goes to our audience themselves for tuning into this latest episode, episode 553 of the Simply Inspired podcast today. And I appreciate all of you for staying with me for this long. But also, if you're listening to this episode for the first time, we are creating interviews like this to help all of you on the spiritual path, helping you find clarity, meaning, fulfillment, increase your compassion, many different things. And so, hopefully, there will be some wonderful tips and techniques and stories that today you can learn and benefit from. So, that's the first thank you. And so I don't forget as well, otherwise I will forget, my book, The Greatness Within, is now available on Amazon as well for anyone needing inspiration and hope. So the second big thank you goes to today's guest, doesn't it? I'm very, very honored and blessed and humbled to welcome to the show Mr. Hari Bhakti Das. Now, hopefully, I'm saying it the right way. Hari Krishna to you, sir, and thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Liam. Very grateful to you for very honored to have come here on your podcast.
Likewise, I'm very, very honored to be talking with you today, and it really is a pleasure. And of course, we give thanks to God as well for bringing us together because every person that I speak with on here, by the way, I always say a prayer first to see sort of how it feels. And so I always give thanks there. So now that the thank yous are out of the way, I appreciate you taking time out of your morning because as we were talking about just now, it's my evening, your morning. So thank you for that very much as well. And you are in Chicago at the moment. Am I correct in saying that, please? Okay,
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful. Well, we will talk more about how you came to be in Chicago very soon. As I mentioned, for yourself and for our audience, today is partially your story and partially also the bigger picture of spirituality. But if people are hearing about your story for the first time personally and they haven't heard of you yet, some will have, but hopefully there'll be new people hearing about you for the first time. I would like to briefly go back in time and talk about the beginnings of your spiritual journey in a very simple question how you became a member of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and how you came to be doing the wonderful work that you're doing because you have a very profound impact on people all around the world. You do wonderful work teaching, mentoring. I've seen your website, I've seen your posts, they're very inspiring. But was spirituality always part of your life from childhood, or did it kind of come into your life at some later stage? May we begin there, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liam. Um, so right from my childhood, I was trained by my parents in a devotional manner. Like I remember, my mother would always tell me, "It is evening now, and the lamp has been lit in front of God. Go and bow your head." She would always say to me this, and then the culture which I learned in my school. Um, every day there would be some prayer, and I would be thinking about it. Like I remember when I was in my high school senior, I asked one of my teachers, what exactly is the goal of my life? Why should I study and go to a very big educational institute, a university? And he told me, see, when you go to a big university, you can live a life like me. You can earn a lot of wealth. And see, wherever I go, wherever I travel, I always travel in five star. I always travel in first class. And I was not so much impressed, but then, yeah, the question was always there. My mother would give various books for me to read. And actually, she has done her PhD in English. So she has got a lot of books. She's an avid reader. So I would have these books like Wisdom for the New Millennium. This is a book written by Sri Ravi Shankar. And I would read that. I would find something very much intriguing that there is some purpose to life beyond beyond living, money making, and things like that. So I was always curious to know about it. And then when I went for my undergraduation to Pune, which is a place in Maharashtra in India, at that time I came in touch with the devotees. They were giving some sessions on fundamental basics of spirituality. So I thought, let me attend one session. I also wanted to do something nice in my career as well. So I said one session I'll attend just to uh, pacify my friend who was insisting me. But when I attended that, it was like I had so many questions. And over the 3, 4 sessions, I asked a lot of questions to this person, and then gradually I I came to this particular path, and I decided that I want to pursue it further. So in short, this is
Of
how.
course, that's the overview, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure there were probably more twists and turns and so forth on the journey as there are for all of us. But it's a very important topic because the search for meaning that you mentioned there, the search for something more than the physicality, the money making, it's something that so many people are searching for. So I will come back to that shortly. But before we do, when you committed yourself to this path, you obviously gain a great deal because you live a life of service, you have a connection with God, you travel the world, all of these things. But from a certain perspective, you also have to give up certain things in your life as well. And it's a very serious commitment. Now, for everyone listening to this, I'm not advocating that we all become monks necessarily by any means, but it's fascinating your level of discipline and in this regard because I've been reading quite a bit of the literature, by the way, with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. I just finished a biography of your founder called Messenger of the Supreme Lord. It's very good, very inspiring, many of these things. But when it came to going from the step of being curious and thinking, okay, this is interesting, to then the bigger step of saying, right, this is where I belong and I wish to dedicate my life to this as you do now. I would like to talk about that specific time period in your life and how that transition went for you, please, if that makes sense. Thank you.
So after I came into this path, I chose to stay with like-minded people, those who were practicing the same thing. And therefore, like I started my undergraduation in uh, 2009. So that's when I came to Pune. And 2010, um, I started staying with devotees. So, so it has been 15 years now that I have been getting up every day early in the morning at 4 o'clock, and every day following a kind of rigorous schedule of um, of chanting, of doing the artis, and of studying the Vedic literatures, studying Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavad Puran. So when I came into this association, I felt it very nice, and I felt that if I have to do it, why not try it fully? So there was no problem with regard to my parents as well. My parents were quite okay. They are quite spiritual minded. And so I thought I worked for a couple of years in John Deere after my undergraduation. Um, I worked and then I decided that I have to try it full time. So I cannot say exactly that it was a journey. As I came within the first 4 or 5 months itself, I thought that let me try it. Let me try it in a kind of full blown manner. And I am trying even now. It is not that I have become perfect. I'm just trying, still a student now as well.
Absolutely. Well, it's fascinating, and this whole topic about the search for meaning, it really illustrates what we're talking about, and it sets the scene in a wonderful way. I have to ask as well, from the objective viewpoint as well, When you were going into this process, and as you say, you were working, then you were thinking, okay, I'm going to go through this. Did you ever question your decision? Honestly, I say this respectfully, but did you ever have any doubts, or was it very much that it felt right, as you mentioned, like-minded people? You see, I'm listening carefully here. Like-minded people and so forth. Did it just feel like home, if you like, straight away, or was there that feeling of, I don't know if I want to commit to this? Because I'm asking this not out of any disrespect, but just to show that the spiritual path is very human, really, and people have
Mm.
these highs and lows sometimes.
Uh, So if you're talking about challenges, see, there is a phase that comes in our life wherein you are highly inspired to do something. So that was a time in my life when I was highly inspired that I want to commit myself. So you're passionate about a particular thing. Let's say just I want to try it, and then you give up. So I didn't feel anything when I gave up my job. Uh, because money was never the consideration for me. Even while working, I would give charity. I would be I was not so much attached anyways to money. So and I felt that even I have to come back, whatever, God will take care. I can find some job or something like that. But then after I entered into the monastic lifestyle, definitely some challenges are there, not with respect to leaving the monastic lifestyle, but the highs and lows that you mentioned, some kind of highs and lows, they always come in wherein sometimes you feel inspired, sometimes you don't feel inspired, sometimes you feel very much enthusiastic to do a particular thing, and at other times you feel, oh my God, I have to just get my chanting done. I have to just get it done. Just go and just relax. So yeah, these ups and downs definitely are there. And I always say, when you're talking about ups and downs, uh, I always say that you have seen this sinusoidal wave, right? Which we draw in graphs. It is like this. Uh, so in the path of spirituality, it may be a sinusoidal wave, but the beauty is the x-axis is not here. The x-axis is not horizontal. The x-axis is like this. So when you are drawing a sinusoidal wave here, your previous low is is lower than your current low, and your current high is higher than your previous high. So that keeps you inspired, and somehow uh, God is watching you at all times, at all steps. So he is the one um, who is hoping and who is guaranteeing that you will continue on this path. Like I remember, when tobacco was first introduced in India, so what did they do is they approached all the shop owners and they told them that you take this tobacco, put it in sugar water, and whoever comes to you to take anything, you just give them this tobacco with sugar water, and then people would take it. And they gave it for free for some time, and then later they removed the sugar water, they packed the tobacco, and they sold it. But people were already attached to it, so they could not leave it. So I feel sometimes God, Krishna, he does like that. He gives you free samples so that you become attracted to him. And then once you become attracted, then he says, oh, I gave you free samples. Now you have to pay the price. You do hard work now. Now become more enthusiastic. Then I will give you for sure. So yeah, that's about challenges and obstacles on the path.
I understand. I understand very much. Well, it's a lifestyle that I very much admire, and even what you say there about the chanting, I believe 2 hours a day, people have told me. Actually, funnily enough, I just had my first beads
Oh wow.
sent from India. So originally, I made my own. I didn't have enough beads, so I made 55 on there. It was the best I could do. And then somebody else in your organization, I spoke with them, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, we send you some." So here we are, and it's a wonderful experience. Anyway, that's off topic for this. My final question about you, sort of more personally, and then we move into some bigger picture topics. These things that you're describing earlier in your life and the commitment to the path. I'm assuming this all happened in India itself. So how did you come to be in Chicago today? I presume you have gone there to teach, but may I hear the story of some of your travels and how you came to be where you are currently in America as well, please? Thank you.
So what happened is that uh, my superiors, my seniors, my teachers, they asked me that there is some need for teaching the Bhagavad Gita, for teaching about the scriptures here in universities. So will it be okay for you to move in to Chicago? So one thing what I feel in my spiritual life is whatever good has happened through the blessings of my seniors, my teachers, my gurus. And I even feel now that if I just follow whatever they say, then there are some things which I cannot see now, but they can see. There are some things which I cannot feel now, but they can feel. So, why to use my intelligence at such places? I borrowed their intelligence and took their advice and said to them, "Yes, I'm ready for a challenge." So, so then it was decided that I move in here. So I just came here a couple of months back, and yeah, it was a bit difficult leaving all the responsibilities, leaving all the work I have done there before, leaving all the devotees, all the entire community where I have been staying since the last 9 years. So it was a bit challenging, but yes, when you try to serve at a place wherein need is there, then you can also become a recipient of the greatest mercy. So that's how I'm here, and now I'm trying to serve in here.
Well, it's absolutely wonderful in this sense because how can I put this respectfully? Essentially, these big cities, if you like, need this kind of service very much. Everyone needs it, but especially, and you mentioned universities, the young people need guidance in particular. So, so in many ways, you're following because I know the story of your founder, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and the story of coming over on the cargo ship, two heart attacks, surviving, and 69 years old, 70 years old, I think. And I read that and I thought, wow, that is courage, that is faith, and I admire him so much because it's a level of faith that you don't see very often, and I just it's remarkable. So in a way, you're following that on the small, without the heart attacks, without some of the other problems. A little bit of an easier journey, but still a very brave decision to go to Chicago, and that leads me to ask you as well. What are some of the how do I put this? I was going to say some of the challenges of teaching, but it's not just the challenges of teaching in Chicago. I mean, it's different than teaching in your own culture. There's different perspectives that people have. There's different ways of living. Not good or bad, or I'm not saying anything like that, but just different. And especially in a big city, can you share with us some of the challenges that have presented themselves with that aspect, but also the rewards of how you are overcoming those things in order to help the young people and in order to do the wonderful service that you're doing? I'm still focused on the positive of how you're helping them, but and I must say how God is helping them through you because it's also very important to mention that. But at the same time, it requires some adaptation, and I'm curious to hear about your learning curve, as they say, your process of adaptation with that, please. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you so much, Liam, for this question. The major challenges which are faced in the modern day society for everyone, actually, um, one of the greatest challenges is distraction. And because it's Kali Yuga, Bhagavad Puran describes this. There is a Sanskrit verse which says, Prayena alpa ayusha sabhya kalav asmin yuge jana manda sumanda matayoho manda bhagya hi upadrita. So it says that in Kali Yuga, many of the people they have short lives. Even if somebody's life is a bit longer, manda, he or she is dull-headed. And if not dull, Then Sumanda Mataya means the memory is very weak. Even if the memory is strong, then Manda Bhagya. There are so many people, those who are there to mislead you. And even if you come to the right path, Upadruta, you may be disturbed. The mind may be disturbed, the mind may be distracted. I remember when I was studying, there were fewer distractions. But with the ongoing advancement in technology, we have everything at our fingertips now. And one of the greatest distractions is that the students cannot focus on their on any of the things, so what to speak about focusing in spirituality. And to go ahead on a spiritual path, we also need to have some amount of attention, some amount of focus, but that is what is declining at this age. So one of the challenges is distraction. Other challenges is the alternate, what do you say, the overall degradation in this Kali Yuga, if you can say like that. Like I am staying in Chicago now, through my window, I can see a marijuana shop here. The name of the shop is Perception Cannabis. So this was unheard of previously. Drugs were sold illegally, but now there are some states in the United States, those who where it is legal to sell even drugs. So with such overwhelming what do you say, degradation, it becomes quite difficult to impress on the minds of people the importance of spirituality. And people may think that I am well to do, I am all right. What is the need for me to serve God? What is the need for me to take anything of spirituality? I'm better off without him. I'm better off without God. That's what people feel. So, so those are a few challenges. And then obviously there is peer pressure as well. If others are not doing it, and if I alone do, what will people say to me? This is yet another challenge. And sometimes there are forces, like I was talking about Kali Yuga. There are so many forces in Kali Yuga which will pull you down. Like again, the Bhagavad Puran says that every day, with every passing day, there is a decline in dharma, there is a decline in religiosity, there is decline in age, there is decline in good values, there is decline in character in this Kali Yuga. So just imagine, every single day the righteousness is declining, every single day the good qualities are declining, and it is like you are going uh, in a river upstream with heavy currents. So it becomes quite challenging to navigate that. But then we have the example, as you told, about Srila Prabhupada, who was the founder of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And my God, that time, I was reading a biography, and it mentions that the first place where he went to was Bowery. And the Bowery in New York, it smelled like a mixture of beer and urine. And there would be people who would be right down with their snipers, just shooting people for no good reason. And he stayed there, and he taught Krishna consciousness there. So, if God's grace is there, and if one is determined that I want to just spread the goodwill of God, I just uh, want to teach the message of God to people, those who have forgotten, then surely God helps. Then surely God helps. So this is the positive side of it. In spite of so many challenges, if if we are determined, if we feel that yes, it is possible, and obviously we may not do it to a very large extent as Srila Prabhupada did. We may not be able to transform the whole world, but one person, 10 people, 100 people, whatever is our capacity. And God never puts a limit. Oh, um, I want that you transform 10,000 people. I want that you should have 1 million followers on your YouTube. Then only I will I will accept you. God's condition is not that. God is so merciful. So we just do whatever our capacity is. And the beauty is that even if a person whom we are giving the knowledge, he or she doesn't take it fully, still whatever they take it, it becomes their permanent asset. Bhagavad Gita says that once you practice something in spiritual life, it becomes a permanent asset. Um, in this world, we find we may study up to PhD, but in the next life we have to start with ABCD. But in spiritual life, it is not like that. If I complete 51%, my next life will begin from 52%. So if I am helping someone to go from, let's say, 1% to 1.5%, that is glorious. That is glorious. So I feel we should look on to the positives in spite of the unlimited challenges in Kali Yuga, because the challenges will keep on increasing, they will never decrease. But if we give up hope, uh, then actually there will be no hope in this Kali Yuga. So therefore, we need to have that ground and try to spread compassion, try to spread goodness with whomever we can. That's what I feel.
Absolutely. Well, may I say that that is a beautiful answer, and I knew it would be a good answer because of your experience, but the way that you've answered that about spreading the hope and about the lives that we touch, it's the same when I do these talks, even if it makes a difference to even one person, then it's worth doing, and it's always more than that, but the principle is sound, and I admire greatly the work that you're doing, and of equal importance, or maybe even greater importance, the intention behind what you're doing as well is very pure and very wonderful. And as I mentioned, that's why when I said about the challenges, it's very much about how you are overcoming them and how this is reaching people. And it's very much as well, that for the Western world, if you like, that's why when I do these talks, I'm trying to show people how it works, because in India you have more options with these things. You can become more involved, and even though there are temples all around the world, at the same time the consciousness is still expanding. And that leads me to another thing that I would like to talk about with your teaching. And these questions are kind of about you, but really they're starting to come into the bigger picture. Is I'm sure when you're teaching in Chicago, you have people from different faiths. Maybe you have Christian people, Muslim, Jewish people, but and maybe because they have the faith and they've experienced God's mercy in one way or another, they're more open. But how do you deal with it when people come to you and they don't believe in God at all? Because, I would like to talk about this a little bit also for the people listening to this, because it's a challenging question, but I also don't want to preach to the converted. I want to show people, the lost souls out there who've never felt the mercy, they've never felt the guidance, any of these things, because they haven't been open to it, they haven't been raised with that. If someone comes to you and they were to say to you, well, I have a hard time believing in any God. Now, that is what you said earlier. That is your 1% to 1.5%, you see. So that's why it's such an important topic. And again, no negativity, how you're helping them begin to open their hearts and minds to these things. I don't have a very specific question, but when you encounter experiences like that, how does it go? How does it develop from that point, please?
Okay, thank you so much, William. Uh, so regarding the first thing what you mentioned about different people of various faiths coming, what conviction I have is that what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Bija Pradapita. He says, I am the seed giving father of all living entities. So this is one conviction that I have, that God is the singular father of all living entities. The faiths may be different, the religions may be different, but the underlying principle is the same. The underlying one person, the Supreme Lord, he is the same. And the faiths are there because of the levels of the understanding of people. And that's why we have different faiths to accommodate different people. But ultimately, if we see the principles which are there in every religion, they are the same. They are to love God, to serve everyone, to have some spiritual master, to um, to be non-violent to all living entities. The prime principles, they are the same. So this is one conviction which I have. And with respect to people who don't believe in God, again, they are also God's children. They are also God's children. So when they don't have faith in God, one thing we need to understand is that if they want, if they desire that I don't want to have any faith in any of the gods, then God will give them that faith. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that if a particular person wants to worship any of the gods, he gives them faith. And in the same manner, if somebody does not want to keep faith in anyone, God will give that person also faith. Like there was a preacher one time, and he was an atheist, and he started uh, to preach his atheism everywhere. And one time he went at the crossroads. He gathered a bunch of people, and he said that I will prove to you today that God is not there. And he said, if God is there, let him come and let him strike me within the next 30 seconds. If he is God, he is all knowing, he should be everywhere. Let him strike me. And then he countdown 30, 29, 28, 3, 2, 1, and nothing happened. And he said, see, nothing happened. That means God is not there. So actually, it is God only who gives faith to such people, those who don't want to believe in him. That is the first thing. And the second thing is, when people don't believe in God, there could be different responses to them depending on the time, place, and circumstance. The first response is to just leave them as they are, because if they are too envious of God, then the more we debate with them, the more they will turn antagonistic towards God. Rather than that, if we can just deal with them in a way that they can come closer to God. Like for instance, uh, we have food which we offer to God, which we call as prasad, which also means that it is a mercy of God. And we just give them that. Just by taking that food which is offered to God, they will come closer to God. This is one way we can deal with them. Other way we could deal with them is to ask uh, why they are feeling like this, why they don't believe in God. Then through logical presentation, we could try to convince them that God exists, and that God is there. Because if you see, even Lord Kelvin said that if you think strongly enough, you will be forced by science to believe in God. Because there is a point where you will come to know, "Oh, I don't understand anything beyond this." And we see a beautiful, let's say if you have an iPhone. Now, if that iPhone is there, there's a creator of that iPhone. This world is there has to be a creator of this world. If you see a beautiful flower, if you see an artificial flower, artificial bouquet, there is a creator of that bouquet. What about the natural roses, natural lotuses that we see? Shouldn't be there behind, there's someone who is behind that. So actually, even without bringing in philosophy, even without bringing in Bhagavad Gita, even without bringing in the Bible, we can talk to people about God logically. That is another way. Now, the third understanding in this is, there are people, those who become atheists due to some reasons also. So generally, it is said that there are two kinds of atheism. One kind of atheism, we call it philosophical atheism. Means there are people like Richard Dawkins, those who write God Delusion, those who write mm, the Selfish Gene, or whatever it is, the Blind Watchmaker, and things like that. Um, but then we also have people, those who are psychologically atheists. So those who become psychologically atheists means what happens is, they encounter a particular situation in their lives, Like for example, I've heard this about Darwin. So what happened with Charles Darwin? Actually, he was going to become a clergyman. He was enrolled in Christ College, Cambridge. And what happened to him was that his 9-year-old daughter died an untimely death. And because of that, he could not digest it. And he said, there is no God. Now I have to live the rest of my life in proving that there is no God. And he set out on his voyage, and then he drew out some conclusions and wrote his book, The Origin of Species, because he wanted to heavily disprove God. And if we see all the philosophical atheists, those who are there, for example, we have these four great horsemen of atheism. There is Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and then I guess there is one Hitchens, Christopher Hitchens, if I'm not wrong, and there is one more personality. So all these are followers of Darwin, but Darwin became atheist, because of a psychological reason. So for people who become psychologically atheists, like let's say a near and dear one of them died an untimely death, and they say there is no God, for them to convince about God becomes extremely difficult. Now, see, God is not responsible for everything in our lives. It is actually we who are responsible. Let's say if I don't study nicely, then I get bad marks in my exam. Then where is God coming in the picture here? And if I start blaming God, oh, God, you did not give to me those questions for which I had studied. You gave me different questions, the chapters which I had not studied. Now that is not proper. And so, in the same manner, the events that are coming in our lives, it may be a trauma, it may be a kind of disease also. It is not brought about by God. It is actually our past. And that is what scriptures tell us, that it is our past and we are responsible. Whatever you sow, as you sow, so shall you reap, as they say, like that. So, uh, so when we are talking about these kinds of atheists. So philosophical atheists, there is at least some chance to convince them and to tell them, hey, what you are saying is not proper. How can you refute this? How can you refute this? Uh, so we can have some arguments for them. But for those who become atheists psychologically, it is a great challenge. So better we leave them where they are and give some time to them to get reformed and to come to the right conclusion. So these are some thoughts. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, just whatever came to my mind.
Very much, very, very much. And you've answered it much better than you may realize because, as I said to you before, I have to go off topic very briefly to just tell you something about this because it's actually quite amazing. As I said to you, I pray on whom I speak to like this, okay? But also I prepare some themes, some topics. I don't really prepare questions, but I don't prepare a lot of stuff because so many times when I was first doing this, I prepared everything and then you end up talking about something else. And I allow myself to flow and to feel the inspiration. And I knew today that I had to ask you for some reason about the atheism thing, right? And even though I've interviewed actually quite a few members with your organization, as well as other faiths as well, because I try to show what you said earlier, that they're saying a similar type of thing. But earlier today, I was reading about those four horsemen that you mentioned: Richard
Oh,
Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, I think it's Sam Harris,
Sam
and
Harris, yeah.
and there's another one, the four.
Richard Dawkins is there, and
Uh,
one more. I guess
yeah,
Daniel Dennett. I guess it is
ah,
Daniel Dennett.
Daniel Dennett, that's right. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Now, and I was thinking to myself about this topic because obviously I believe in God, as you have seen, and obviously I've experienced the mercy and all of these things. But I was thinking that when people say they don't believe in anything, usually they've been hurt in some way. And that, like you said about Charles Darwin, exactly like that.
Just
And I
just
was
one point
thinking,
can I add in here? Just a
please,
point I just remember.
please, please.
You see, when a person he says that that a blue donkey does not exist or a blue ass does not exist. You may not think so much about it because the blue as does not really exist. Will anyone write a book on a blue as not existing? One won't. But actually, the fact that they are writing books on God does not exist means God exists. Because why will you write a book on something that does not exist?
Yes, well,
But that's
I
another
have
thought.
I have observed that because obviously what you said earlier, when people blame God, if you like, for something, then you have to blame something that's there. I have observed that phenomenon actually, because obviously if there's nothing there, then there's nothing to blame. So I have seen, and yes, I've seen that it's very much an emotional construct. But as you say, you mentioned the four horsemen. I was reading about them, and I just knew that it's hard to explain, but you understand this because you pray and you meditate and chant every day, so you know that you just know that something is going to happen. And I knew that somebody was going to mention or that it had some purpose. I think that God put the idea in my mind, and here we are. You're talking about it, so there we go. That's a fun little story for you. It's working all around us in mysterious ways. Now, I also have to ask you as well that even though you are a selfless servant, and you are doing this to share the scriptures, and you are sharing this to share God's grace and mercy working through you, Krishna, all of these things. I want to ask you about some of the sort of achievements within this movement that you are proud of achieving. But I mention that also with I know that you're a very humble person, and I'm not putting you on a pedestal to be perfect or anything like that, because as you said earlier, we are eternal students. But nonetheless, you are brave enough to go forward with this and share the message with people, and therefore have a positive impact on those people. So there must be times when you stop for a moment and you give thanks, but you also think, I did a good job there, because you have to give yourself credit. Like you said about the exam topic just now, that you prepare, you're still doing part of it. You're still going to Chicago, you're still getting up every day teaching. So, what are some of the moments where you have felt the impact that you are having the most, and you've sort of finished your day or finished your work, and you thought, I did I did a good job there. That was really special. That was really profound in some way. And I'm curious in your experiences if there's certain moments that stand out like that, maybe more than some of the others in some way. Maybe you've helped someone a long time ago. Maybe you've seen them again and you've seen how much they change, or just something like this. I feel that there's something there to discuss, please. Thank you.
It's actually a very difficult question for me because
Sorry, my apologies.
because I generally we just try to serve uh, whatever way the services are there. But yes, one thing which I can tell is when we can see the people whom we are teaching, whom we are guiding, they are going ahead in their spiritual lives, then that gives a great joy. Uh, when I see people, they are wanting to follow some path of spiritual life, that really gives me great joy. And I don't know, or I don't even think if I've made a big transformation in the lives of people. Uh, but yeah, again, as I was telling, even if somebody is helped through it, um, even for some time, huh? Like let's say a person is undergoing some kind of problem, and if he hears a lecture of mine, or if he reads an article of mine, and if he or she is inspired, or he goes out of that particular zone even for maybe let's say 1 hour or one day, then I find it to be um, a good achievement, because the greatest achievement in life is to be an instrument of God's will. And the only way how you can become a good instrument of God's will is to take yourself outside and to put God in the center. But when we try to put ourselves in the center and um, try to say that okay, I'm the one who has created impact, then the value of that impact also reduces much, because it is not we who are doing so. And that realization we have many a times, while practicing spiritual life, because we understand that, hey, uh, this was not me, it was God, who just used me as an instrument. Because many a times people will come and they will say, oh, you spoke this and I like this point very much. And then I will think about it. I even don't remember that point, or I may not have prepared for that either. But that was one point which inspired that person to go ahead in a spiritual journey. And then people come back and tell to you, oh, this was the thing I liked very much, where you would have done it mindlessly as well. uh, so I just feel if we just try to serve in a simple manner, in whatever talents God has given us, and then try to just serve, then I guess that is what is the greatest impact. And even he would say that there's a famous Christian preacher. He would say that you should preach 24 hours, and if required, you can speak also. So I feel that the greatest teaching or preaching is when we set the right example. If we have the right character, if we have the right values, if we have the right behavior, then definitely people will be inspired to take spiritual life. And uh, and that's what is the best thing we can do. Because when we come in way of somebody's journey in life, we don't have to come in their way, but we have to show the way. So like we have many a times we have signposts where it is where when it is written, okay, now like I am in Chicago, so it's written Wisconsin, you go to the right, Indiana, you go to the left. So they are just showing and they're just guiding people. So if we just become signposts in the lives of people, that is a better achievement than blocking the road and telling, no, you have to go through me only. First, you have to pay the toll tax to me, and then you have to go. So the best thing would be to not obstruct them, but deal in such a manner, deal in such a way that they just go ahead. And definitely through the years, as we are talking about moments where I can feel God's grace. Definitely, there have been a lot of moments where I have been reading something, and that is just the problem I am facing, or and I just happened to read it. I just happened to hear it, and there are times in life wherein I just get what the exact thing what I need in my life. And there are very high packets of inspiration also which Krishna gives sometimes in life. And he reveals in a very mesmerizing way. He may not show his form altogether, but yeah, uh, he may not play his flute for me coming in my dreams, but definitely his flute playing can be heard through his servants. Those were his devotees. And that is why uh, devotees are so very important, or people, those who are following the path which you follow. Associating with them is so very important, because they are the ones who will take you to the destination. Jesus would say this, uh, if you cannot love someone whom you can see, how can you love God whom you cannot see? So it all begins with loving the people whom you are with. And then through those people, you can get blissful experiences in your journey, because each of them has got a story to share, and each of them can can take you to heights which you can never imagine. You can never go yourself. Again, I don't know, Liam, if I answered you rightly.
You answered wonderfully, my friend, wonderfully, and it's very much, again, there's definitely a connection here because when we sat down at the beginning, I
Yeah.
thought to myself, this is obviously the first time we've met today, and I thought to myself, okay, this guy here, I'm learning something just by sitting near you. I thought that. It was one of the first things I thought. And when I've met um, very devoted spiritual practitioners, that is sometimes the case. I like what you just said about the story about the preacher, preach 24 hours. I was thinking of that. I was thinking of it more, be the change you wish to see in the world, but it's the same thing that you said. And so there's definitely some connection here of the things I've been working on, and you're saying them. So that's very, very cool. A wonderful, wonderful answer to the question. Okay, last couple of topics, and then we will wrap this up because I'm respectful of your time as well, and we don't want it to be too long for for our audience as well. Okay. In the internet age itself, you mentioned earlier about the focus, and you mentioned earlier about that. How can people use the digital world to further their spiritual path? Because you said at the very beginning that we have everything at our fingertips, and from a certain perspective, we have a lot of material things, and we have a lot of intellectual information. With the left brain, if you like, type thing at our fingertips. But we don't necessarily, or we also have a very good opportunity for those people out there who find it more difficult to be part of a community at the moment for some reason, to use the online world for the development of their spiritual path. Now, one of the other people in your organization told me once, it was an example about a stick, right? He said to me that if you have a stick like this on its own, you can break it. But if you put a lot of sticks together and hold them, you can't break it because they're strong. And he said, our movement is like this. I thought, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But then for people who are not having access at the moment for some reason, they can digitally, which is also part of the reason I try to put these things out there as well, because people listen to it. Somebody might listen today, somebody might listen in 5 years from now. I mean, when the time is right for them, who knows? So, in short, how people can use the digital world to find reliable material to further their spiritual development. I think that's an important topic because it flips the distraction thing earlier on its head. Of rather than using this to distract ourselves, we can use it to learn and grow and develop. So if that makes sense where I'm going with this topic, would love to hear your thoughts on this, please. Thank you.
First thing what I feel is that we have to be careful about the distractions on the internet, because it's just like a thorn. And if we feel that I want to remove that thorn, we need to use another thorn. But if you're not careful, then we will be with two thorns in our feet. So so the first thing is we need to be careful. And for people, those who are here digitally, definitely there is a lot of material which is there available on the internet. And as much as one can get enlightened, if not equally, if not more, then equally, one can get bewildered also, because of the vastness. And as you said, how one can find reliable information. So in spiritual life, there are three things which we have to see and try to follow. The first thing is, we call it a guru or a teacher. Second is sadhu. Sadhu means another saintly personality. And the third thing is shastra, meaning scriptures. So if something I am hearing from a person, from a teacher, then I have to confirm it with other saintly people and with the scripture. If I am hearing something from the scripture, then I need to confirm it with the teachers and with the saintly people. So when I am hearing anything on the internet, I need to be careful not to just blindly start following it, because there are so many influencers nowadays, right, on the social media. There is no problem being an influencer, because we need to influence people to the right direction. But more than influencing in the right direction, there are people those who are misleading people and taking them on the wrong direction. So it becomes very important that uh, we test the authenticity of any path that which we are wanting to follow. Else there is a very great chance that we can be misled. So yeah, it's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge. But those who are uh, into this digital media, uh, must need to understand that wherever there is a market, uh, there are people, those who are there. And internet is such a huge market to gain fame, to gain money, to gain anything and everything. And it is said, if you tell a lie enough, if you tell a lie loud enough and repeat it, then people will start feeling it as the truth. So it becomes very important for people to carefully assess which path they are following. And one more thing for people, those who are into this digital world, is um, if you want to go deeper into a spiritual path, it cannot just happen through reels or through shorts. They may inspire us for 40 seconds or 50 seconds or even 1 minute, but then hearing has to be for a longer period of time. Like now, you're having a podcast, I guess, which goes through from 45 minutes to an hour or so. So when you hear for 45 minutes or 1 hour, maybe 5 minutes will go in. But when you hear only for 1 minute, I don't know how much will go in. And when you are hearing so many things, like I see people, I don't have an Instagram account nor a Facebook account, but I see people, just watching one reel after another, which they call as doom scrolling. And just imagine you are watching three good reels, three spiritual reels, and 10 reels which are not giving any benefit to you in your life, which will have a greater impact. Definitely, those 10 will have a greater impact. So yeah, that is also a challenge. But then we need to flood the internet with good material so that people always find something spiritual. And that's how if we can do it, then surely those people, those who are seekers in the digital world also can gain access. And I know many people, those who have been into digital, and they find one personality whom they see as genuine, and they start following him. And as you said, that the importance of this digital world is that after 5 years somebody will open up this conversation, and he or she may see it and gain new insights in their life, and they may decide to dedicate themselves to spiritual life. So it's so beautiful, it's so wonderful. There's
Yes, it
some
is.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful reflections, and as you say, it has to be out there. Any of these forms,
Yeah.
the reels, the books. And I'll tell you one final story, and then we'll wrap this up for today. But I actually discovered your movement in the beginning completely by chance because I started off more with the Buddhist side because I thought, okay, I believe there's a God, but I don't know exactly what it is. So let me just get my mind right first, and then I'll figure that out. And then I was picking up Buddhist books. I was meditating, and I came across a book called The Journey Home by Ratana Swami. I thought it was a
Uh,
Buddhist book.
so Rajanath Swami is my spiritual master. He's my guru, and his birthplace is Chicago, and I am in Chicago.
Oh, there we go. You see, the tapestry, the connections are working today big time. He is your teacher. Oh, that is absolutely wonderful. Well, he is the one actually, and I picked this book up because I thought it was Buddhist. I didn't really think about it very much. I thought, it looks interesting, and then I was reading through, and he was going on his long journey, and then he tells the story about meditating on the river and hearing the Hare Krishna mantra and everything. And I thought, oh, what is this? And I look into it, but it was completely by chance. And I actually read some of the book years ago. Then I put it away. Then I read it again, and it was obviously God working to make me aware of these things. But that is wonderful. Well, when we're talking about online people, he is somebody that I follow completely because the material that he puts out in terms of reels and everything we were just talking about, YouTube videos, is absolutely wonderful. So there we are. See, I knew I had to mention that, and there was, and you're in Chicago, wonderful,
Okay.
absolutely wonderful. Well, with everything that we've talked about today, all I can do is thank you very, very much for
Thank you so
sharing
much.
your experiences, your reflections, your thoughts, and everything that you've shared. It's been absolutely wonderful, and I really believe that this will help some people out there in the world with these topics and give them different perceptions. And the work that you're doing, absolutely beautiful and so much needed because the last thing I'm going to say is that you mentioned earlier you grew up with some of this devotion, and I grew up with good parents, they're spiritual people. But in the Western world, these influences they pull you off track, and you get lost in things. You think, oh, it's a good idea to try this, it's a good idea to try that. It's really not. It's really not. So, the work that you're doing, if you can spare some people from learning the hard way, like I did, because I was terribly stubborn and arrogant, and I learned all of this the hard way until I was eventually humbled 2 years ago. And it's okay. I mean, it's still part of God's plan. It's no problem. But hopefully, if you can help people come onto an easier path, then that is absolutely beautiful work in and of itself. So I just wanted to say that to you from my heart. And with that, have a wonderful, blessed day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Liam. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, honestly. And I hope that our paths cross again. I'm sure they will. Sure they will. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.